Get those calendars ready, because today you need to save these dates. October 22nd and October 24th, 2021.
The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, presents a free 2-day virtual conference that will benefit your pockets.
This event cannot be missed. On Friday, October 22nd, we're going to be talking about growing and sustaining your business. Sometimes you say, in my little business, how can it grow further? You will hear from some titans in the business. They will tell you about growing their business from a seedling, germinating from an idea to now being listed on the stock exchange. It can be done. You too can do it.
And for our families, friends, children, building generational wealth on Sunday, October 24th.
You're saying to yourself, but that's on Sunday. It is. What better way to spend your Sunday? Gather the family together. Have a virtual watch party with your friends. Day 2 is all about your personal and family wealth. We're talking about building generational wealth. We are going to be asking ourselves, what are the things we wished we learned when we were children? What are those conversations about money that we need to have with our children? How do we secure our personal wealth? How do we grow and keep our personal wealth? Because broke no good again. In fact, broke never good. But we're talking about more than that. We're talking about building wealth, sustainable wealth, comfortable wealth that we can pass from generation to generation. You can't miss day 2. Go right now to register at smallbusinessportal.com. Did you get that? Smallbusinessportal.com. Register right now.
Don't forget to like, share, and click the event reminder so that you'll be notified of this life-changing conference. See you there.
Welcome viewers to the 73rd episode of CovidCastJA, episode 73. Today we're talking about the very important topic, teaching kids about money. So however we call it, teaching kids, teaching children, or teaching the picnic them. Today we're saying it is time that we have these conversations with our children. And I'm very excited about tonight's topic, but I'm even more excited that tonight's topic is part of what we will be discussing in this weekend seminar. We start tomorrow, October 22nd, with our Building Wealth Conference. The Building Wealth Conference tomorrow is all about building business wealth. Building business wealth. We want to build sustainable businesses that will grow from generation to generation. We want those ideas to move from 1-year phenomenon to multi-generational, multi-year corporations. It can be done. Tomorrow we start at 9 a.m. And just hold on a second. If you are an MSME, if you've ever thought about business, if you know anyone interested or in business, and you or they have not yet registered, don't hitch. Go right now to smallbusinessportal.com. But it doesn't end there. For those of you in Jamaica, Sunday is a no movement day. And what better way to spend your time inside of the yard than to be thinking about, learning about, starting the narrative, building wealth for your family, for yourself, for your children. We're gathering the children together. We're saying we're not putting them one side while we talk about money. We want them to understand budgeting. We want them to have the lingua of bonds, stocks. We want to move from our financial, understand the maths to true financial literacy. And the conference on Sunday is from 12 noon to 3 p.m. This is time that you are investing in empowering yourself. Ensure that you are there. Go right now, register at smallbusinessportal.com. smallbusinessportal.com. What's that? Smallbusinessportal.com. But you know how we are at the PSOJ. We want to ensure that you're getting a taste and a feel of some of the conversation that we will be having in this conference. So tonight you get double dose. And by the way, remember, we always have a weekly memo. And the weekly memo for this episode is available also on smallbusinessportal.com. And we had discussed the spiritual laws of money before, and we're discussing them again tonight. So please download. You can email us at sme@psoj.org. sme@psoj.org to ensure that you are on our mailing list. And remember, CovidCast is brought to you by our sponsors, NCB Group and the JMMB Group, and it's brought to you by the private sector organization of Jamaica, ASATWA. I'm happy you are here. Please tell your friends so that everybody can be a part of tonight's conversation. And tonight we have two exciting guests. We have Nevada Powe and Imani Duncan-Price. And let me just tell you a little bit about them. And many of you are already very familiar with Nevada. And I know you miss him because you haven't seen him as much lately. So he is back with us. Dr. Smith, may I wonder where you're there? You are here. Hello. So Nevada is the PSOJ's Access to Finance Panel's Chief Project Architect. He is a well-experienced management consultant, technology entrepreneur, and business educator. He has over 25 years of experience in business consulting, banking, consumer goods and technology, business strategy, operational implementation, and marketing communications. He was previously a partner in the New York office of the Boston Consulting Group, a leading global management consulting firm where he advised Fortune 500 companies in financial services and marketing strategies. He earned his MBA at Harvard Business School way back in 1992. Don't let his youthful good looks tell you otherwise. After earning his undergraduate degree from Amherst College, where he graduated as valedictorian. Come right here from Jamaica, valedictorian. Imani Duncan-Price, a very familiar name to us all, is a former government senator, co-executive director of Jamaica's leading think tank, the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, and former group strategy officer of the JMMB Group. She has exhibited a record of successful leadership. As former chief of staff in the office of the leader of the opposition in Jamaica, she supported then opposition leader and PNP president, Dr. Phillips, in policy formulation with a focus on inclusive growth. Now, she has a passion for social innovation and impact, and she recently established the Imani, Grace and Love Foundation, focusing on women's economic empowerment and affordable, dignified housing. Imani has done so many things. She is a former Miss Jamaica World from 1995. She earned a BA from Wesleyan University and a master's in international development from Harvard University at Kennedy School. Now, the funny thing about tonight is Imani is the mother of three. Nevada is an uncle and godfather of many. So who better to talk to us about teaching kids about money than Nevada and Imani? Welcome them. Sandra Palmer, great to see you. And I was wondering where you are. And Nevada.
Yes.
This topic of money, because you and I have had so many discussions about money.
I'm coming for Christian at some point.
We talked about money shame. We don't want to talk about how we get paid. We don't know how to price ourselves as business people. We don't know how to ask for money as employees. And there's just so much taboo around this discussion of money. And a lot of it is because we don't have a good relationship with money.
Absolutely.
Now, I think it is important that we do a bit of refresher because, one of our most popular episodes was the spiritual laws of money. Mm-hmm. And some people, when they say, what kind of spiritual law of money? but they have walked around with that memo for months. So for those who haven't seen it, and just for a refresher for those who have, because this is something we always have to be bearing in mind, let us talk about the spiritual laws of money.
Okay, that sort of an abridged version. Well, first of all, why are they spiritual laws? As opposed, because the spiritual laws of money, they're spiritual because they are eternal. And they are relevant irrespective of what you're invested in, irrespective of your level of income, and irrespective of your lifestyle, whoever you are. So these are principles that we should all carry should have carried 20 years ago, should be carried 1,000 years from ago. These do not change, right? Other things may change, markets going to change, all the other things going to change. You can get a financial advisor about, but these are what you call core values, constitutional values of money. So the first thing to understand, which is always bizarre for people, is that money and value are actually narrative fiction. And by that, I mean, it's simply that people have agreed that this is worth that and that is worth something else. There is no logic or clarity behind it except an agreement. And I'll give you a classic example. There's a very famous British painter called Banksy. And a year ago, he sold a painting was sold by him at Sotheby's, which is an art auctioneer, and the painting was sold for $1 million, $1.4 million. Now, what happened is that Banksy triggered a device inside the frame of the painting, such that as soon as the painting got sold, and they said sold, he turns on the device, and the painting actually goes through a shredder. So at the point that somebody has bought it for $1.4 million, half of the painting is shredded and half of the painting remains. And you're like, what the hell, is the thing ruined? The person who got it for the $1.4 million said, no matter, I will take it anyway. Last week, so a year later, the shredded painting got sold again at Sotheby's for $24 million in a year. Now, what the hell how does that happen? Now, the object itself had not changed. In fact, one could argue that the object had deteriorated, and yet its value had improved 20 times. So where's that value coming from? That value is the narrative. It's the story. And the reason I say this is you must understand, when you are spending money, what are you buying in terms of the object, and what are you buying in terms of the narrative? Now, if you have an endless amount of money, you are free to buy all the narrative that you want. If you are
a shredded piece of narrative,
Yes.
Even part of the narrative shredded, you can buy it.
You painting, right? So the thing is, if you have only for money and you want to buy Armani, go for it. Nobody will stop you. But if you're on a budget or trying to save money or trying to become wealthy, if you buy Armani and it robs you of your future, when you could actually look as nice in a less expensive branded dress or shirt. But by the way, I've seen situations where, Prada, which is an expensive brand, but don't make things for my size, don't make things for fat people. They make bodies for thin people. So, but when people say, yeah, man, I draw Prada. I'm like, Prada don't look good by you. Prada need to be thin. But they're so obsessed with the fiction, they're buying that. So that's the first thing to understand. Money and value is a mix of a reality and an illusion. Focus, as you are saving and as you're young, not paying for illusion, paying for objects. 1, 2. You need to extend your financial horizon beyond today, tomorrow, next week. You see, when you borrow money to buy a carnival dress, that's a foolishness, because you are literally robbing from your future for the now. You're not thinking appropriately in terms of your extended financial horizon. Now, again, if you have only for money sitting around, I'm not saying you can't buy a carnival dress, but you see a lot of young people borrowing money at high interest rate on the credit card. That's saying, I don't care about my future. I don't care about my financial future. I only care about now, the party now. Extend your financial horizon. Where do you want to be financially in 5 years? And if you have a vision, then how exactly will you get there? And it's not by borrowing money to buy a party dress. 3, money comes to those least interested in the things that money can buy. You have to love money over things.
What I mean by that, dream of a future of assets invested, not consumption. So you don't sit there and say, boy, I can't wait for the day that I have a yacht. Can't wait for the day that I can buy designer clothes. No, you say, can't wait for the day when that investment account gone to $1 million. That's my dream about. No, the problem is that we live in a culture with, especially Instagram, right? Nobody, right, puts up how much money you have in your bank account on Instagram. Although I wish they would, because at least that would stop the craving for the foolishness. The problem is right now, the only way to signal that you have money, and often you don't because you borrow the money to it, is to say, look, from me to buy this Imani shirt. Look at me buy this BMW. Although them bank coming to repossess it next week, right? We know that. So that's the thing. But we have to start dreaming as invested assets, not consumption. Right? Third, right? Fourth, there's also an issue. You cannot work your way into wealth. You have to invest or save your way into it. And what I mean by that, there's very few people, Kanye West, basketballers, footballers, tennis players, who per hour, they actually can work their way into wealth. Yes. But none of us are able to get one game, 2 million. That don't work. For most of us, we don't have a skill that, or we put out one song and we get $1 million or we get a movie. Those people can work their way into wealth.
And they can work themselves out of wealth too if they're not managing it.
If they overspend, if they love things too much. Michael Jackson problem, Aretha Franklin problem, right? We don't know how Michael Jackson money could have done. But anyway, it can done because he buy too much animals or whatever. But anyway, so once you start to assess that you have to invest money, it means that you recognize that the salary that you earn cannot be the only way you're going to make money. Now, as you start out, none of us have any money for the most part. Unless you have inherited money from the parents, that's a place to start. Therefore, you have to put away some of the salary that you earn. Because knowing that you have to get what's called passive income, earning money while you sleep. Because if all you do is on the salary, worse, if what you do is borrow ahead of the salary, you're putting yourself into a lifetime hole. So what you find is that even people with the same salary with can end up in two divergent places 5-10 years later with a different attitude towards money. So you cannot work your way into wealth. You have to save and invest into it. And my usual rule of thumb is 15 to 30% of whatever you get, whether it's a gift or a salary or after tax income, whatever, you put that aside, pretend you don't have it. And every time you get a bonus, you probably put the bonus as part of the investment, don't put it as part of the salary. So you just think about things like that in advance.
Nevada, before you go on, because we are at spiritual law number 4. Yes. Number 4. And we are just talking about how we put aside money, the 15%. And you said, regardless of how you acquired this money, because sometimes we think if we did get the money through lotto or we did win it through cashback, we can't spend it right away. And even as we are educating children about money and we're looking towards intergenerational wealth, I want to just bring in Imani here for a moment, just as we examine some of the previous laws that were set out. Imani, as you're listening to Nevada and even your own views on building generational wealth, you have 3 children. I mean, what's in your headspace about building generational wealth? How important is it for you to be teaching your children about money?
It's absolutely critical. I mean, and I love what Nevada is saying, because there are things that as parents, we don't often think about teaching our children while they're young. Not even when they're older anyway. We just kind of equip our kids and we'll try to make sure that they don't have a hard life, give our children more than we had. That's kind of our goal, right, Rochelle? Make it better for them. But it can sometimes hinder them sometimes. And so I was thinking about, we always dread this one conversation as parents. When do we have the sex conversation, right? Like, when do we describe the birds and the bees at different age levels appropriate to your son or your daughter? So they understand good touch, bad touch. And we know about those things being very important. But no one's saying to us in the conversation, are you also having the money conversation at age 3, at age 5, at age 8, at age 16? They're different conversations, right? And I think, when Nevada was talking about extending your financial horizon, that for me was actually like that touched home for me, because that's the whole point of saving for a goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, working towards something and having delayed gratification in an era where at a touch of a button, even more so than when we were younger, because we're older now, right? We're not quite that group. You know, they touch a button and it's immediate. My children don't watch TV because TV has ads. They can skip ads on YouTube. So they don't have patience for advertising unless they want to see it. You understand? And they know this. My 6-year-old from she was 4 knew this very clear. Mm-hmm. So there's no sense of delayed gratifications. You have to build in almost like practices and experiences that they can actually build that muscle. Like when you go to the gym to build muscle, you have to build the muscle of value of money, value of delayed gratification, value of extending your financial horizon, and learning those steps, and not in those same words, because kids won't get that, right?
Exactly.
But in practical ways. I mean, I definitely, it reminded me, Nevada, when in talking with Aiden and Marley and Selah. So Aiden is 10, Marley is 8 now, and Selah is 6. And I've had different types of conversations with them. But kids always want something, right? Like hands down. And we often give in as parents. But it's important that we don't give in, but ask them, what do they really want? Like in school, they're taught about needs and wants. Take that lesson from school and bring it into your home. All right, so what do you want versus what do you need? Because most times our needs are fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And once they can determine like what they want, and say, okay, well, let's work for what you want. You can't just get it just so because you're nice or because you're my daughter or my son. Let's work for it. Write the goal down. Like I had them 2 weeks ago writing down, what's your goal? What do you want for Christmas? And they each wrote down their goal. I said, well, how much does that thing cost? They went online, looked it up, and it was in US dollars, because it was on Amazon, right? I said, well, multiply it to Jamaican dollars, because I don't earn US dollars. I earn Jamaican dollars, and you're going to have to be earning money in Jamaican dollars. Yes. And Sarah can't do multiplication, but Marley and Aiden can. They had to go and find the exchange rate on BOJ site, multiply the exchange rate, at the time was 149, against the US dollar. And they said, oh, mommy, we have to save like 6,200. I said, no, there's tax. There's shipping costs. Let's get real. It has to get to the country. And they worked it out and they added and they wrote it down. And I said, well, good, you have a goal. But then how long will it take you to reach that goal? Because, you can't earn it tomorrow. And they had to work out how many chores they'd be doing for how many weeks until they reach their goals. And we kind of have a system about stars and rewards, keep them going. But it was on practical ways to, as Nevada calls it, extend your financial horizon, but appropriate to their age.
Appropriate to their age. And that's quite brilliant. I'm here like making notes because I like it. And it's funny, Nevada, as you move to the other spiritual laws, I see you nodding. But they always say that when the parents come up with the goals and stars and you have to do work for the money, there's always an auntie, uncle, or grandparents that's spoiling the plan.
Yes.
From where you sit though, and you are breaking down something like extending that financial horizon to your nieces and nephews. You always want to be the favorite uncle. How do we ensure that as a family, we are all bought into this vision of generational wealth, not let down the side?
Well, I think it's good to have a mix. And remember, the uncle or the aunt or the grandmother will never spend as much as the parent. So I think it's also okay that the grandmother or the uncle does something. The parent can look on with displeasure, that the kids know that I'm going to go and get that from an uncle, but they'll never get it from me or whatever. And then so you play that game. And you have to be clear also that the uncle and the grandmother do not overstep their bounds. Especially if somebody's trying to raise their children a particular way. But also you see this even you also can't be conflict with your partner.
Yes.
So in a man's situation, for example, if she's trying to do this, but on the side, the kids can go to Stephen and then just give them cash, her entire effort breaks down. So the parents have to be aligned with what it is they want to teach the kids vis-a-vis money. I mean, other things as well.
Yeah.
They cannot be divided, because Imani's effort would have gone to naught if the pink them could go to their father and say, boy, daddy, I want this, and daddy just buy it for them.
Yeah.
And the great thing is about, I mean, thank goodness, Stephen, you see, neither of us actually had these conversations with our parents when we were younger. And we had different unhealthy habits with money. You know, like when I was first went away to school and I got my own first credit card. I was like, woohoo! Money to spend. Not really understanding that I was actually borrowing it for my future for it was not good. I mean, and I lived with that debt for years. Even though I was making a good salary after going to Harvard, etc., I was still paying off debt from like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But no one ever explained to me that. And even it's amazing because my parents, both from rural Jamaica, I mean, Louis St. Anne, I mean, humble, right? I mean, my father from Abuka and then Franklin Town, and they worked their way up to school, and that's how they made it through education. And because they cared and didn't want me or my own sisters or siblings to go through too much struggle, but was focused on the work, I never had to necessarily have those types of conversations, you know? And I don't think it was on purpose. It just wasn't a thing done. And because the world is so much more now materialistic, it changed in their lifetime, right? It became a necessary learning, painful. And that's why for me, it's so important, and for Stephen, that we try to inculcate these types of values and understanding as early as possible. We're not perfect. And by no means is any of these lessons taught and absorbed like right away. But you keep trying, right? And you know what the goal is, and you keep trying different ways. And you hope that by reinforcing it and trying to be differently creative, that it actually sticks, you know? And I love that now at this point in time, like when we ever have these like money games, my daughter Marley always comes on the budget. She's like that girl, you know? Aiden always comes over budget, and he kind of put a plan to like go find a way to go and make some more money. But he makes him entrepreneurial. He now sells comic books. So, you know, there are different ways.
Fantastic. Hey, Imani, there's a question in the chat that I think you should answer. From Ski or Sky. I teach my children, how can I teach my children? Great. How can I teach children about saving if the light bill is reduced? Which I know you do. You do have that. Yeah.
Exactly. So
talk a little bit about that.
One of the things is about you know, wasting money at home or helping to make savings. And of course, JPS, you know, no insult intended at all. But it's a pain point for people, right? For many of us. And so what we talk about with families around, you know, show your children the light bill. Show it online if it's an electronic bill, or show it the hard copy itself. And I kind of show like, this is the kilowatts, how much is per hour, and what the total is. And then say, all right, let's just figure out together as a family, what if we turn off more deliberately the lights, plugged out appliances that we were not using, because when they're plugged in, they actually do drain energy, which, by the way, doing this would be environmentally friendly as well, you know? And then let's see the difference from month to month of our collective efforts, children, parents, whoever's living in the house, the difference in the dollar value, and have them work it out. In June, it was this, you know? In July, it was this. In August, it was this. So they can begin to understand that our own actions have a direct implication for the results that we get. And the money saved, you can agree as a family what you do with it. Maybe you can go on like a trip, or go get ice cream. You know, it all depends on what the multiple is, but make it engaging and, you know, not tedious, but like fun. And if it doesn't work, keep doing it.
Reculturing their minds to view money differently. I see Joan McLeod, and please continue with the commentary because I love loving the comments. Joan says, pay to do chores. For me, that's a no-no. Enforcement of child labor. She says, I encourage them to save. Example, drink water instead of juice. The money goes into a saving pan. And at the end of a particular period, I match the amount and invest that burrito.
So, all right, I'll give you a little tip here. All right, so, for example, my son Aiden, that wouldn't work for, because he was my first child, and I was very good about, like, him eating the right foods. I blended all his foods. Aiden never got any soda, no sugar. So Aiden, even at 10 years old, does not drink soda, doesn't drink juice, nothing with sugar. He drinks water. So that wouldn't work for my son. But I get her point around not paying for chores. But for me, chores actually, and every parent has to decide what's right.
What works, what works.
You know, we as parents, we don't like want to tell us what to do, but I'm just giving you some tips for you to consider. So
Yeah.
for me, chores isn't about hard labor. Making your bed is about knowing you have to clean up after yourself. Because when you are 20 and 16 or living on your own, you're going to have to clean up after yourself, whether you're a man or a woman. If you have to take up your toys, you know, in a very concerted way, that's a chore, you know, and that's a part of what they do. If you have to wash the dishes and not break them, you know, and obviously we do this child age relevant. That's a part of like learning responsibility. If you eat, clean up after yourself. So it's almost like using the things you want them to have as like adults. Can I tell you a little secret? I've seen some young people in their 20s in today's world who don't know how to make a bed, who don't even know how to go shopping at a supermarket. Like they miss the life skills part of like the growing up, which is not taught in school.
Have to end up paying somebody else for them when that money could be going towards the saving.
And my thing is, Rochelle, I actually don't pay for like the basic chores, you know. What we do is that we have some basic things that have to be done, but if you do it consistently every day for the 5 weeks of our savings horizon, you then get the stars. So it's the extra work and the consistency, because we also know, we see it in young people, right? They can't stick to anything. Okay, not everybody, some people.
Yeah, but it's discipline.
Yeah, man, discipline.
And I see Sasha Kebab. Hey, Sasha. Sasha says, I agree with Imani, and that's what I do. I see the comments coming in. Kay says, I give my daughter an allowance every month, and I encourage her to save towards things she wants and put away a portion in savings. Thank you. And please continue sending in the various things that you do, because we are all learning from each other.
Rochelle, can I say something to Sasha for a second, though? I would really encourage Sasha not, because I used to get an allowance as a child myself.
Oh, that's key.
Sorry, thank you. But try to see if you can tie some kind of work or effort to the allowance. Because when you just get money just because you're lovely and you're my child, you know, you don't always associate working for something and getting something, you know? So not saying you have to make it a whole big bag of work and ting, but just something, so there's some effort tied to getting the allowance, you know? And then there are the consequences too, sometimes if we don't do what we say we're going to do. So you kind of build in accountability as part of like life, you know? So just to consider it.
I like it. So Nevada, back over to you. Dr. Smith, I see your comments. I'm coming right back to those comments. So Nevada,
poor Kay daughter now going to make gunning for Imani. This mash up.
A rich woman, okay?
Yes. Number 5, we're going through this laws now. Financial independence is a leading source of peace of mind. You know, one of the things they don't tell you is that when you have debt, you can't sleep. You can't answer the phone. You worry who knock on the door. You don't want to walk down the street too. I mean, it can go in all kind of ways that you do not anticipate. But owing people money or owing an institution money and that fear of harassment is really something. So the whole idea that you can, you don't live with that. The second thing is what I call the ability, what they call walk away money. And there are 3 things you may need to walk away from, right? Your job, on that top, your boss take liberty with you, or you know, do something that insults you or whatever. And if you are dependent on the job and then you repress your dignity because you don't have any money saved, that's one thing, right? So you don't have the ability to walk away. The second issue is with respect to a spouse. And I always said this, even if you're a non-working woman, you make sure, whether it's out of the supermarket money or whatever it is, you are putting aside your own nest egg, or there's some agreement that is something that you have. Because again,
non-working man and woman, no.
Working man and woman, sorry.
Non-working person.
You make sure that you also have your independent thing, because again, you have the ability to walk away. And the third thing is children and parents. Rich parents often control their children longer than the children should be controlled by the same thing. The children get used to a lifestyle that they can't afford. And then they keep having to go back and live with mommy and daddy, or having to go back to mommy and daddy because now they're addicted to the lifestyle. But the problem is they never get the independence of their own decision. So it's really critical. That's why I say at all ages, you start to think about financial independence.
Mhm.
That means whoever mess with me, right? Whether it's a parent or is a boss or is a partner, I can walk. Because you should not be prolonging your situation because you're not able to financially walk out of the situation. So that's number 5. Number 6, I want to talk about communities, right? And wealthy communities. Now, this effort that we're doing at PSOJ is also about Black people and money. Talk it straight. As a culture, and yes, you can say it's partly because of slavery, partly because of how we have been involved. Money was never part of our community. When Mr. Man talking to his children about investments in stocks and bonds, there was no Black people talking about those stocks and bonds with any kind of magnitude, right? So all of that, we have only recently come into that universe. And therefore, it is our job for those of us who have come across those things. That's why I praise Kalila every day for how she is actively teaching the ordinary stocks and bonds and all that kind of thing, because I think it's really crucial. But when you look at different communities, right, you look at the Chinese or the Jews, and what you recognize that every time they go into a place that, even if they emigrated and them start small, in short order, 1 or 2 generations, they start to control the country that they're in. And people start to work for them. Even in Jamaica, right? Mr. Chong come down, just reached from China, back 2 twos, him grandson own a shop, own a restaurant, and Black people are work for them. And they say, well, how is it that them just reach here, and my whole family is here for how many generations, and me I work for Mr. Chin? Because Mr. Chin understands the principles of money. It is deep in their culture. The Chinese people, for example, what's the first thing that Black man buy? Generally, we buy a car, and it's borrowed money. So we have borrowed money to buy a car. The moment we drive the car off the lot, the asset is deteriorating. The first thing that a Chinese person buy is a business. They may live on top of the business, but it's a business. Think about the orientation that says, the first thing I'm going to buy is a money-earning entity. Even if a Chinese person buy a house, that's not the house where I live in. The first house he buys is not his own house. The first house he buys is a house to rent. And him and him 10 cousins, them live at that house and them collect rent. So it's an orientation that we have to get around how, as a community, we are going to build wealth and sustain wealth. And part of that is congratulating people on stuff that they do. So somebody starting a business, we need to big them up. Versus, why, what you new car now? I love your new car. Because as long as we keep encouraging, right? And rarely, we don't, somebody start a business, it's very rare, but I'm very conscious about it. When a friend of mine started a business, so yeah, man, and by the way, if you need any help anytime, call me, right? Very different. In fact, I'm mostly muted when somebody says, oh, I got a new car. I'm like, oh, great. On purpose, because I want that value to dissipate out of the Black community. I want our values to be, I am a producer, not a consumer. Again, it's not to say that you cannot consume, but your net effect is to be a producer, not a consumer.
Yes.
Michelle, on that point that Nevada made, there's one of the lessons with children about learning about poor value and good value for money. And even in what they want to buy, you can discuss with them, well, how long will that thing last? You know, that toy you bought for like $100 or $1,000 versus something else, and have a book that can be read over and over again. You can have a discussion at their level to really understand good value, meaning lasting and building on, versus poor value, one use, broke up fast, you can't use it again, kind of a thing. And then we'll begin to get it. And so, well, do you want to spend your money that you're actually now saving for and working chores for on something that will broke up after like 2 days? Or you want to buy something that can last for like 3 months or a year? And you kind of get them in that, you know what I mean? But you have to, as a parent, just be conscious, choosing when to engage in those conversations to, you know, once again, inculcate the insight. Because it's the same thing when it comes to the car then, you know, later on in life, or the business or something like that.
Yeah, and together, I mean, when we start doing it as a community, it now becomes embedded in the DNA of this new generation, and they will make different decisions than we have made.
And there's
Yes.
one more thing I wanted to say. You know how well, when we were younger, the banks would come to schools and they would open accounts for us, but no one really explained to us like how the account worked, right? No, like when Aiden went, he went with his grandfather I didn't have time to go with him, to open the account because he was saving money. And Daddy sat with him while the rep at GMB Bank explained to Aiden, you know, what the savings account was, how it would work, that kind of a thing. He wouldn't
Interest rates and all of that,
interest
right?
rates, exactly the kind of fees he'd see on the statement. The person showed him a sample statement. They kind of went through it. Now Aiden didn't get everything, you know, but Aiden looks forward to his statement on email like every month because he's watching his money grow or not growing, or what's happening with the fees, you know. So it's to make it okay and not scary. It's just a part of life, and we're just gonna just go with it and build, and you know, it's like a building block in a sense.
Yes.
But
We'll have to start
feel
somewhere.
from life, like
Yes, absolutely. And
And
also, just as Imani said, again, that encouragement, right? Because if she gets excited when Aiden's bank balance is growing, that also encourages him to let the bank balance grow. So that's how we reinforce each other and let him show off, even to his sisters, my bank balance bigger than yours, because that's a better thing to show off than look at me, I bought a more expensive consumer item than yours. That's a dead consumption is a dead end. This year one saying no, he's learning how to save. So good debt and bad debt, as Imani says, so it's better to save for a vacation than to borrow to go on a vacation, right?
Yeah.
The same principle. Number 7, respect money and it will respect you. I always had a thing. I used to teach critical thinking at Campion, and I do a whole section on money for precisely this reason. And of course, not everybody. Years later, many of students who listen to the lesson, they say, "Thank you, Mr. Powe." Blah blah blah. Other people say, "Mr. Powe, me in trouble now. Me never listen to you." All types. But I do a very interesting thing. I said, without looking in your pockets, how many of you can tell me within 10 cents exactly how much money you have? And if it's not zero, some people have zero, so you have to say that's easy. And I would say usually it's about 20%, a quarter of the class that can do that. And I said, those are the ones who will naturally be rich. And they say, how you know that? So I said, because they are watching their money flows. Respect money and it will respect you. If you know your inflows and your outflows and your balance, just knowing it. You have some people who, when they go to the ATM, they're praying. No, I'm saying if you're praying when you go to the ATM, your problems. If you have no idea how much money you have, right? So that's the one extreme. And the other extreme is more sort of half loosey-goosey. But the person who knows precisely, this is my income, this is my tax, this is how much I pay for JPS, this is how much I think, who knows that stuff, that is the person who understands their money and respects money, right? The Bible says, a fool and his money will soon depart. And it's very, very true. Understand money, respect money, and you will have it. Disrespect money, and you will never see it. It'll always be slipping out of your hand.
And it's a part of a challenge, you know, when you have debit cards and credit cards, like they'll tell you that when you're teaching children, it's often better to actually use cash and coins. They can see the tangible manifestation of the money itself, and so, well, this dollar is gone, that $10 is gone, the $20, the $100, etc., right? So they can see that you don't have it anymore. On a card, right? You just swipe the card. I remember, like, when I first, you know, I pick up my kids from the nursery. I go to the ATM machine, and I'm like, "Oh, Mama, that's the money machine." So they just like print money for you. I'm like, no, I have to work. When I work, the money goes to an account, and I then go and pull out the money onto the card so I can use it. So they don't even, if you don't explain to them, it's like a magic trick.
Yes.
Right. And so when they get cards, they'll be like, "Oh, it's a money card." No, it's actually a store of value based on what you put there.
As we're even discussing, Imani, that is such an important point. The card generation that these children, and it's no fault of theirs. This is the
it's the way of the world, right? You tap it and it's there. Your phone becomes a money store of value.
My nephew, when he asked me for something, I said, "Me not have no money." Him say, "Yes, but you have the magic card."
Exactly. You don't need money when you have the magic card.
Exactly.
Yeah. But even those discussions, you know, because generations before us, we hid our money status. Our money status was hidden from us. We didn't understand how our parents earned. So I mean, even my older nephew now, I sit with him and I say, I need you to look how many hours I have worked today. This is my hourly rate.
Yeah.
So it means this is what it means. So when I'm working, and then this is what groceries cost. So out of my hourly, the number of hours, we need to work out groceries, how JPS, water commission, all of these rates out of it. And we can't be ashamed. We need our children to have that appreciation.
And in doing that, Rochelle, in that way, you're actually teaching budgeting in a very practical way.
Yes.
So the thing is, I mean, with kids, like adults, we don't tend to learn well in like theoretical environments, right? Unless you're like in university and it's a course that you're studying for with a book. But in life, if you just teach it by doing
and
when
showing.
you're saying, look, I work, I enjoy my work, right? I do it well, but this is how much I get paid per hour. Number of hours equal X dollars. Well, let's look at the month. Light bill, rent, or mortgage, or food, utilities, internet, and let's see how we come out, So also when he's older and on his own, he will know kind of like what to expect.
Yes.
He's even thinking about how he also values himself when negotiating his salary for the kind of life that he would like to live and stay for,
Yes.
This is so the comments. I see Sasha says, yes, Rochelle, so true. We have to teach them. Sandra said credit cards are a killer. If not managed well, use what you can pay off. Nevada, back over to you.
So the other thing I want to say with the same concept of respect money and it will respect you is the idea of what you take out with you when you're going out. For example, and I do it also the same idea with food, which is you have to know yourself with respect to self-discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are those who you can buy a big bag of Oreo cookies and have them at home, open the bag and take out 2 and put the other bag back in, right? I'm not that person. If I open a big bag of Oreo, it's not going to run right there, right? So for me, I have to buy the little packs of Oreo.
Or none.
Or none, right? Exactly. So the same thing with money. If you are not self-disciplined, I would actually leave the credit card at home. I would take the cash that I intend to spend, and therefore I am not tempted to overspend. So it's very, very critical. Worse on a night out when you know you're going to be drinking, because that's when men get very generous. Yeah, the next round is on me. Next round is on me. Oh, and what about light bill next month? Right? So you have to know yourself. Now there are those who can have the credit card and them not spending, right? Because them know said the friend who stupid and will spend for them. So you have to know yourself with respect to money, right? Okay. Then the whole idea, number 8, socialize across the financial spectrum, which a lot of us do not do. In fact, very often we desire to associate with the group ahead of us, bigger than us, more wealthier than us. So we're always in the position of trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? The issue is, which is something, I saw with my mother, for example, very clearly, and my father, is that once you talk to all types of people in terms of their financial spectrum, you then can understand that there are people who making even half what you earn who have managed to live a good life, managed to build a happy life. And therefore, your struggle, therefore your struggle with money is illusory. Your unhappiness because why I don't have enough money now is like, stop. Do you know anybody earning less than you who is happy? If you do, and you should, then you'll say, it's my mirage. It's something I need to fix in my mind. But if you're constantly hanging out with people richer than you, then all you feel is your sense of lack. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. Boy, I don't do that. Or you borrow money to try and keep up. All of that kind of thing, right? So this whole idea of you need to have friends in your group. Not everybody can have BMW, and do not want to try and hang out with people like BMW. You need some people who still take bus as part of your friend group in order to therefore have a balanced view around money. And separately breaks down the class structure in Jamaica, but that's a different reason to do it. But just personally for your own life, make sure you cover yourself with a great group of friends. Which leads to number 9. Get a handle on you and your kids' money, Shane. I see this a lot. So the friends are going out to TGIF or Uncocked or whatever it is on a Friday night, and your money can't manage that. Rather than saying, I cannot afford it, you make up a story like, boy, I have a headache, I'm tired, my mother, whatever. You make up some story, which means you are associating the amount of money that you have with your value to your friends. You need to be able to say, boy, you guys doing Uncocked? I can't afford that. Call me when you're doing KFC. That's what I'm about, right? And not be embarrassed. By the way, if your friend said, boy, if you're flexing KFC, but now I work with you, then guess what? Those are not the friends you should have had in the first place, right? So be clear and be upfront. I can't do that. I cannot put my share of, if I want to come to beach house, somebody else going to have to pay for me because I cannot afford to be the attend to the thing. So you have to be clear and don't make up an excuse. And your kids shouldn't either, right? My parents can't afford that. I know I don't go TGIF every lunch. You know, there's some boys that can't be that I would teach. Some of them go lunch TGIF every day around the corner. And there are others who can't afford it because they want to hang out with the cool kids. Them gone. That's where you get that money from for going no TGIF. They don't have it, but they are them not going because they don't make up a story. Critical to get a handle on money shame.
Yeah. Nevada, before you move on money shame, I just want to bring in Imani. Imani, I saw you nodding, and I saw your brain also working because, you know, even with the children and for us as parents too, sometimes you don't want them feel a way like say they can't take part in the thing. And you know what, as Sandra said, you don't really want to have the real talk, you know we don't have it. And you end up also creating an illusion for them so that they're not existing in the reality. You will get there, but right, you can't. What advice and what do you do to balance that out? Because we always want better for our children.
Yeah, man, and it's Nevada's point about having a wide cross section of friends or people who you move with or you par with. It's important because and because of that, you're going to have people who have more and those who have less, or those who think you have more because of who they think you are. Versus like knowing what you really live by, as nodding, because in a Jamaica where the country is small, so small sometimes, and it's smaller when you look at it by socioeconomic segments, right? Whether it's in upper class, upper middle class, working class, and everybody feels pressures in their communities, whether you're in Almond Town or you're in Beverly Hills or Jacks Hill. It's just a kind of a peer pressure on who can like breath better, right? And so and there's so many false conversations, and it's I was thinking in my mind about honest conversation with our children, like when you really don't have it, right? And just and explain that we're working hard and we're doing this to get here, but right now we can't afford that because we're saving to do something else. Like you can bring them into the conversation so they too can learn it's okay not to be ashamed. And I must tell you, as a parent, I know I've gone through this, and I'm like, let me just tell you a little lie, a little just well, we're gonna go to grandma's for the weekend. We can't go to the country, like something that offset the why you can't go to the hotel, right, with everybody else. When you just like in a period of a mismatch of cash.
I'll tell you a quick story because you mentioned your mother and Louis. And one of the things, because I went to Campion and all the influences were there. It's a great institution. The influences were there, people of different socioeconomic brackets. And I remember when holidays would come and, people were going off to Miami and so on. And when they said they were going to country, they was going to like Ochi country. They wasn't going to my country. Mommy said to me, Marcia Cameron would say, make sure you make them aware that it's down a Lucky Hill you're going. Lucky Hill, St. Mary to Vacation Bible School down at Mama. I used to go to Piazza at daytime. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. And people still remember me for that.
And the thing is, and it's to make it okay, right? So your mommy, by her saying it to you, and say, make sure you tell them the truth. So truth is important. And you don't have to hide it. And you're still good anyway. You're a good girl, right? You understand? So it's a thing where as parents,
Also empowers you.
we have to teach our children it's okay. And we have to also, because it's not just us we're protecting, meaning, lying for ourselves, we're also creating a pattern for our children. And that's what I hope will force us to be more honest, because we don't want that to continue, right? We want better for them. And better is truth.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because truth is strength. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny, Rochelle, you said that, because I did the opposite. When because that the long weekends in at camping, also at camping, I never have no money, and everybody going to Miami and but I was a reader and I could study. So even though I wasn't going to know Miami, I knew to talk about the trip that I went to Miami anyway, because me don't know what's in Miami. So again, one of the things is also to recognize, even yourself, how you grow with respect to money. And when you get to the point that you can say can't afford it, as opposed to pretending or making up another excuse, is really critical.
Yes.
Leading to number 10 now. Give. Do not lend money to friends and family. And why do I say this? Unless you are, and my mother actually was the one who taught me this, right? It's not that you can't lend. You're free to lend, but recognize that whatever you lend, there's a potential for you not to get it back.
Yes.
And therefore, only lend what you can give. And therefore, if you don't get it back, it's fine. Because what can happen is that you are now, so whatever, for whatever reason, you have a sister, you have a brother, you have a cousin, you have a very good friend. You were never friends with them because of money. You're friends with them because of a variety of things. They're funny, nice to hang out with, whatever. Now you've let the fact that they owe you money destroy every other thing that you have. So maybe they were a comedy for you or solace for you, but you hold up the money thing. So the issue is, guess what? You're choosing between your money and your friend. You're choosing between your money and your family. So best to let it go and not create animosity with the relation or the thing, because that is not why you were friends with them in the first place.
And the flip side to that, Nevada,
yeah,
teaching your children in terms of having respect versus carelessness for your friends or your family's things.
Yes.
So, for example, children borrow each other's toys or whatever all the time, right? And in the middle of playing, things get destroyed if they're not careful. Some parents just buy back the toy quickly to replace the toy for the other child. I say to parents, actually talk to the other parent and say, look, I want to teach my child about respect for people's things and for things in general, whether it's their own laptop or it's a person's bicycle, etc. And so if you allow me at a few days, not to buy it back immediately, but have them save, do some work to save back, to buy back the thing or have it fixed. They must know there is a consequence and a cost to actually disrespecting somebody's things. So while it is the body, you're correct about not lending more than you can give, but the flip side, you have to know as a person, respect people and their things as well. Yes, things will happen in life. I mean, trust me, things happen in life. But if we try to get that going as well, don't make it
both ways. Yeah,
man. So if the iPad broke or I drop again, don't buy it back right away. No, let us feel it a little bit now, and then do some work to earn it back.
Yeah, and sometimes what we say, the same earnest way that we borrowed the money, the same earnest way that we need to reach out, and don't make the people then wonder if they were the ones that borrowed from you. But as you said about it, because sometimes we can't hold out the money thing. We're not even see them have fun. When they have fun, money. So don't give more than you can afford
to lose. Exactly.
But I want to say something else as well, because to me, the seventh principle for children is also about cultivating empathy and a sense of charity. So while we're talking about, accumulating money and building wealth, you also have to be generous in spirit and with money as well. And people around you, those who have less than you, those who may be in dire straits, children can learn and can see around them when other children or other people have less than them. Talk about it and say, well, what do you want to do about it? So we're going to choose a charity. The kids are doing research now on what charity they want to to do for Christmas, and they're going to create a little fundraising plan. They're going to be engaging their family to match their savings funds to give to that charity, because you want to actually also have them aware that while it is important to build your own base and respect money, that money is just money. Yes. And you can actually share it, and it can grow even in that way too. So cultivating empathy and a sense of charity is also important with children, you know?
Yes. Nevada?
Yes. So the next one now, we're at 11. So we're going to have 2 more left. Create an emergency financial plan before a crisis happens. Now, a lot of us learned those who had a plan versus no plan this year, which is you think to yourself, although many of us felt this now, right? What if my husband, what if me, what if whatever, my wife lost their job? What if the business that I have closed down? Imagine the worst, because we learned from COVID, you could actually get the worst. What do I do? So in some situations, say, okay, if I have a business and the business closed down, I'm going to move back with my parents. I'm going to move the kids out of AISK. They're going to public school. Write down the steps before the event occurs, because in the crisis, in the panic, you won't make good decisions. But if you already say, if my husband dead, if my wife dead, if this source of income, for whatever reason, disappears, what are the steps that I would take? Now, I always say, if you have some savings, blow through like 30% of your savings. Don't blow through the whole thing. So keep trying to fix. But the moment you hit 30% of your savings, I would actually truncate it, almost as if I have no savings left, and do the drastic plan, which is pull the kids out of what school, blah, 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 blah. But you can try. The problem with that is people tend to keep hoping, I'm going to get a job next week. 2 years go by, and then they're going to debt to support their lifestyle because they don't have a job, which just makes it worse. More depression, more thing. And by the way, when you're looking for a job in a depressed state, your desperation actually comes across. Mm-hmm. So far better to be on a strong footing and know exactly what you would do if something actually occurs. Know this now. For those of you who COVID hit and you're like, what, Bumbo, what has happened? Yes, you have to recognize you needed a plan. And what was that plan? So what's the plan for the next time, right?
And just on that point, I mean, not to share everything with your children, because you do want to hear them from some of the things in life that are just too much for a child to handle in uncertainty. But there's some things as life is occurring, because they can see what's happening. If you don't explain to them, put some words to it, articulate what you are going through and the choices you're trying to make, and bring them involved, and they would have their own interpretation. And that they also won't be able to build a muscle to go and weather their own crises that they will inevitably face in their own life. So as a parent, again, appropriately carry them along as you determine that plan, as you A versus B, so that they feel a part of the team, the team family approach to getting this done. Because it also helps to build a solution-oriented approach to money.
Yes.
The crisis.
Like that.
So, Nevada, I think we are at law number 12.
Yes, law number 12. So what it says, cultivate a true interest in money matters in terms of trying to understand it. No, people say, boy, I don't have time, And I say, how much Netflix you watched last week? Right? If you can give money 20% of the time you watch Netflix, you will be in a better position than they are now. What does that mean? There are several programs online. There is lessons you can take, books you can read, financial advisor at every bank thing that you can go talk to, read newspaper and stuff. Be educated. Attend a conference like the PSOJ conference coming on Sunday. Take advantage of the things that are out there, and plenty of them are free. But to say that you don't have the time to think about money or to understand money, but you have spent so much time on watch Netflix and all kind of foolishness. No,
or liking people's pictures and watching them live their life.
Watching them live their life. You're not being fair to your future self. Yes. So take some time to understand a real interest and allow yourself to make a plan in that same time. Where would I like to be in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years? And what are the steps I need to take today to move towards that? And that becomes sort of the essence of how you build a financial base and a community around money.
Oh, that was very powerful. You know, one of the things that I did recent, just a little survey on children between 8 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, have you ever played Monopoly? So many of them had never heard about Monopoly. And, you know, we spend so much time on the new and the modern, and there are just some very old principles. And even as we're driving in the car with the children, sometimes you put on an audible, one audio book, it turn off the other sounds for a moment and listen to it together and discuss.
Yeah.
Dr. Smith says PSOJ COVIDcast has over 70 episodes to teach those who desire to learn. Thank you, Dr. Smith. And we have the written memos for those who have to see the words themselves to support this learning. And in fact, the spiritual laws of money, all of them are also set out right now on smallbusinessportal.com. So you can click on it and go through. Sasha says, I did take some time and selling journals on Amazon, and I got this idea just by reading a book. Sandra Palmer said, it's okay not to be okay. My mom always said, be satisfied with what you have. Sasha said, give what you can, teach your children to be kind. As I'm scrolling back up, there's some earlier lessons. Sandra said, we used to save our funds to spend at Christmas market, knowing that you have to spend wisely to acquire all you want that day. So some really great commentary and just feedback as we're sharing our different tips and ideas about money. And as we are wrapping up, let me start with you, Imani. When you think of some of your critical life lessons with managing and mismanaging money, what would you share with our audience tonight about some of those lessons?
I think the whole point about shame and not being able to manage or finding yourself in a problem, like stuck for me as Nevada was talking, because we have to actually be okay with who we are at our core and seek help, advice, support, you know, versus trying to batter through it by yourself and try and figure it out. Life is short. And so the more help you can get by just asking for assistance to sort something out, the faster you'll get to a better footing. It took me a while. And hello, my family runs a financial institution, right? So like there clearly is advice, but you have to be able to stand in your own self, accept who you are, know that you are good enough, and that everyone makes mistakes and you can always rally back. And if you seek support from those around you, they will help you to build a strong foundation. And apply the principles and you'll push through. And then teach your children now new lessons, new behaviors. They'll make their own mistakes. Don't teach them yours.
Yes. And you know, I like this point that you have made, that we make mistakes and we live in the shame of the mistake. We don't like say, all right, but they don't make the mistake. So let me not keep making the mistakes. Let me not just stay and wallow in the mistake. Let me do better now. That's what I have learned, you know?
Yes. It's exactly why when Aiden was born, I began looking for books about financial management. I was like, I'm not the same mistake with my children. No, sir. You know, I began like preparing myself because I knew my own weaknesses and things I hadn't learned earlier on and how it manifested. And I was like, you have to be able to teach, you know, and even as I teach them, I still learn, which is great, right? And that's the beauty of life. Like you don't stop learning. So
actually, one of the things I just want to mention, in this week's memo, Imani has a list of books that are kids appropriate as in the resource section of the memo. So for those of you who have taken the time and be interested in learning about how do I talk to my kids about money, definitely try and get the memo for this week.
Yeah.
And at the back of the
different ages as well.
Yeah, by ages, she tells you what books to buy for each age and stage, and that kind of will support the effort. My thing is that when we were growing up,
I see a really great question here.
Mm.
How should 20-year-olds invest their savings? And what does the early phase of investing look like? I think it probably will tie back into the point that you were going to make.
Yes. Well, by the way, first thing is to attend the conference on Sunday, right? The PSOJ
Once
conference.
you come tomorrow, or if you're interested in business, you start tomorrow.
Start tomorrow. But at 20, you're probably more Sunday skewed to you. So here's the thing. The first thing you have to do is to create the discipline of saving. So even before you move to investing, you have to say, let me start with putting my 15%, 30% away. Just whatever that number is. Then you accumulate a certain amount of capital. So the savings account now not paying the money, and everybody know that. In fact, it will steal inflation. But you first need the discipline. Then you need to say, what are the investments that I want to invest in? Typically, when you start out, you don't want anything that's too risky. So you tend to start out with bonds, which is when a company or the government borrows money, or a stock for a company that is well old. Because you know that it's unlikely, again, it can happen, but it's unlikely that they're going to go out of business. And then the way you separate savings from investment is that savings, which means liquid, is stuff that you're likely to need in the next 6 months or a year. You want to have that money. Investing is something you don't need for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on your horizon. Now, when you're starting out in your 20s, your horizon will not extend 10 years for investing purposes, but you will have a 5-year plan. You'll have a 3-year plan. And therefore, you want to invest in things that are likely to yield in 3 years, 5 years. When you start to accumulate more wealth, then you start to think, no, I'm investing for retirement, which is 30 years, 40 years, whatever that is. So you almost break the money that you, so as I said before, you take out the 30% of what you receive. Some of it you have to put in cash, immediate savings account, which is money you're likely to use. Some of it you put in investing that you say, I'm going to need. So like, for example, if you have kids that are about to be of college age, you have to put some money aside for that. And some you put in for further. But the older you get, the more assets you accumulate, you start to break between those various areas. And that becomes the way you think about it. So at 20, the first thing is to start with the discipline of savings. And that is about creating the independence from your parents. If you're still at 20, 21, asking your parents for money, asking parents for money, ask for parents for money, you are setting yourself up on a wrong footing already. Because you're accustoming yourself to a lifestyle that you cannot afford.
Yeah.
So, and I always said it, when my mother came to visit me in New York, my first job was in New York. And my mom and her best friend, Auntie Del, came. And of course, they stayed with me. There was a crackhead outside my apartment. And my mother said to me, why would you live with a crackhead when you can come to Jamaica and have a nice house? And I said, Mommy, because it's mine. It's mine. And of course, the crackhead moved to a better building, then have a fabulous Manhattan apartment. So, but the only reason I have a fabulous Manhattan apartment is because I was paying rent with a crackhead, right? So you have to realize that you also have to take a step back to go forward, to own your own independence. That the money that you have, right, has got to come from your ability to live a lifestyle below what you can afford.
Yes. Well, Devon, this is so powerful. And I see persons sending in their email addresses. Remember to email us at sme@psoj.org. There is an online resource that is available for you 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. We're at episode 73. So we have about 73 memos and easy to read, to the point, with resources, clickable, free resources. You know what Oprah used to say when Oprah said, a car for you, there's a memo for you, all that Nevada is discussing. There is a full memo on investing, and we're encouraging you.
Absolutely. And Rochelle, I just want to make a point. When we were growing up, access to information was a problem. And therefore, somebody could legitimately say, boy, I don't know anything about that. It is not true. Yeah. Anything you want to learn about, it is available predominantly for free. Mm-hmm. So you cannot sit there and say, oh, I didn't have access. There is access. Now the onus has shifted, not from the people who provide the access, but from you personally seeking out self-learning, self-training, And I'm not saying it's easy, because yes, of course, we want to go beach, we want to watch Netflix.
It's practice and the discipline.
It is practice and discipline. Put aside some hours every week for self-training. It's there.
One of the things I tell my kids, they ask me all the time, why is there so much homework? Oh God, there's so much homework. I said, well, you know what homework is really about? Not just about the thing you're learning. It's doing what you have to do by a certain date and a time with quality, just every day. You're building the muscle to get the job done. That's what you're doing. The thing you're learning is incidental. It's actually the muscle for life. And if you keep thinking about, like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the vision that Nevada spoke about? What do you want to, like, save for? What are you building towards? Have that motivate you. Have that vision of what you want be the motivation. When you get tired, you want to go watch TV or you want to go whatever. It will not really help me get towards my goal. If it doesn't, just get back on track. Get back on track.
Yes. And Nevada, you're not getting away without the life lesson. Tell me the life lesson, management. Because everybody hearing how you manage money, they also want to know what are your lessons from the mismanagement of savings.
After the money shaming, she was definitely something I could do. But there's a question there about even though you have the lessons, how do you create a personal self-discipline? First of all, what Imani says is correct. Don't worry about the past and what you did. Right? So we always say, boy, we did mess up already. Yes, you mess up already, so what? Every day is a new opportunity to make a different set of decisions. The moment you've woken up in the morning, don't tell me there's no chance of a new decision when you're dead, right? So the moment you've woken up in the morning, you can make a different decision than you did yesterday. So suppose yesterday you did waste money. Suppose you run up too much bill on the credit card. Today, I'm not going to waste money. Today, I'm not going to spend a credit card, right? So don't harping on the past. In fact, sometimes people say, me done mess up already, can't bother and get themselves deeper into the hole. Exactly. So start again. And by the way, it may also be that you come off the wagon again. Still, say stop.
Yes.
Off the wagon, start again, right? And it doesn't matter. Don't bother beating yourself about what happened in the past. So say, for example, there's all this this information and learning online, but why Netflix sweet, I want to sit down tired, whatever. But then you say to yourself, all right, let me give this money thing 15 minutes. That's not bad. The next week, 2 weeks later, let me give this money thing half an hour, right? Then at some point, you trigger and you say, this money thing is really interesting. And it suddenly starts to absorb you in a way also that maybe even better than Netflix. Because sometimes the scary things about money is to begin. Once you start to get comfortable, so stock, bond, mutual, you turn it off, right? Because it's too much, it's too whatever. This is why also promotion for the conference. This conference is for a lot of people who don't know anything. So we have designed the conference in such a way that the languaging is for the 15, 16, 20-year-old or the person who has never invested in anything before, for them to understand A, then B, then C. So critical future, don't be afraid of the topic. Start with what you know. Start with where you're comfortable, right? And the rest will follow. You'll pick up the jargon later. You'll get all of that stuff later. But the information is there. Do not waste your time not acquiring and getting the information that you need.
Well, I mean, this has been such an incredible episode. I see Joan saying another way to build generational wealth is to invest in your children's education so they don't have to take out student loan. Craig says that's the whole thing. How do you begin? How do you bottle yourself to be able to just do it? It's not as easy as doing it. There's fear and anxiety at all levels. Like it's like an exercise. So you have to just keep at it. Sean says it's like the lessons in the Karate Kid movie. And Nevada has mentioned we have an amazing conference over 2 days. This is investment in your money future. Because remember what we said, broke, never good. It no good now, and it has never been good. Nevada mentioned earlier, nothing keeps you up at night like debt. When broke come wake you up and say, oh yeah, sleep so sound, wake up. This is now a time that we are changing the narrative. We start tomorrow with that business narrative at 9 a.m. Please, we want you to log on from early. You don't want to miss even a minute of tomorrow. We go from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you have not registered yet, if you know your friend them not register, you remember Nevada said we have to celebrate our businesses that are open, the persons who are starting business. Make sure you're letting them know tomorrow is an investment in your business. This free conference, the investment is your time, your energy, your commitment to your business. Then we know that Sunday you are wondering, what am I going to do? I can't go outside. I can't go to the beach. I can't do nothing. No, you are doing something. Sunday is your movement day. Moving from lack of knowledge, lack of financial literacy, moving into a place where you're talking about how to make, keep, and grow money for families, individuals, and everybody interested in growing wealth. This is about building generational wealth. So it's not just we work, we go to school, we get a degree, we get a piece of paper, and we just go look at work. We are talking about how we're going to grow wealth. And remember, this is not for some people. This is open to all. And even where you think you know, you will come and you will learn some more. Because I know some people tonight, they think them did have it already, and they say, but me hear some good things. So again, it is free. Please register at smallbusinessportal.com. What is it? Smallbusinessportal.com. Don't hitch. And some people are saying to themselves, who are some of the people we're going to have? Well, we're going to have people like Kalila Reynolds, Tammy and Wayne Mitchell, Carrie Robinson, Zachary Harding, Kurt Booth, Mariam McIntosh Robinson, Johan Heaven. Let me tell you, we have the experts, but they have also committed to this. We're not talking over anybody's head. We are talking no jargon, easily understood language. And Nevada, even better than I do, please describe the booklet that you get to have, keep, and use.
Yes. No, it is quite phenomenal, actually. It's the kind of thing that you're going to print and you're going to bind it and you're going to have it on your table. It goes through all kinds of details about, and again, simple language, right? If you're a business, how you got to an income statement, how you got to a balance sheet, how you got to a thing. So in ways that are like almost like baby steps. At the PSOJ, we call it grandma language. So I put all of them complicated things in grandma language. And so that's the business section of the booklet. On the personal section of the booklet, we talk about things, again, grandma language about investing. What's between a stock and a bond? Why should I, if I'm 20 years old, what should I invest in? What are the spiritual laws of money? What is the personality type that you have to be able to save? And if you know you're one type, how are you going to trick yourself into being another type? All of them tools and stuff is there. It's about 60 pages. So it's when it's serious, but you take it, you print it, you bind it.
Checklist of
there are checklists in there. Yes. So like you register in a company. What do I need to do? Tick, tick, tick. It tell you exactly. You open an investment account. What do I need to do? Boom, 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 boom. It is a life-saving booklet. Again, how much is it, Rachel?
Free.
Freeness.
FREE. What we say, fully discounted, 100% discounted.
No reason for you not to have it. No reason for you not to be educated. Right? So this is it.
So
you have the conference, you have the memo, you have old episodes, whole heap of things out there. PSOJ is there standing for you, standing for families, standing for small business, and standing for the education of Jamaicans around money. As Rachel said, Brock, not good again. Brock never did good.
Never did good.
And just to clarify, there's no free lunch. While they don't pay, it is a gift to Jamaica from JMMB, NCB, PSOJ, all of your sponsors are paying for it because it costs money to do this, but they're giving it to the public for free. We have to understand as Jamaicans, not enough free.
Yes.
Exactly. I said it's 100% discounted because of our sponsors.
By the way, somebody just asked, where do I find the book? When you sign up to register for the conference, either tonight or tomorrow before the conference begins, you will get the booklet. So
Yes.
go to smallbusinessportal.com, sign up for the conference. The booklet will come either tonight or tomorrow or both.
Yeah, and it will be available. This is the kind of thing that you want to almost give to people. Like you send it to them and say to them, this is something you must have. And just to remind you that you wonder, how can all of this be provided? As Imani pointed out, we have some committed sponsors who have invested in empowering you, who have said this is very important that we change this narrative. The NCB group, the JMMB group, who have been with us through this journey, they are sponsors of CovidCast. We thank them. Digicel, our telecoms partner, the RJR group, our media partner, Barita, GK Capital, Proven Wealth, the Bank of Jamaica, and the Bank of Jamaica's National Inclusion Committee that has been doing gallant work to improve the inclusion of our business people. Mayberry, Exim Bank, JWN Foundation, JP Foods, and Benjamin's. And just in case, we always want to wonder to any other sweeteners, because can you imagine there are more sweeteners? We have so many amazing prizes and surprises throughout the 2 days. So please do not miss it. I just put it in your calendar. This is about your time, because let me tell you what we're doing. We're looking at the future. We're investing now into our future. Smallbusinessportal.com, or don't hitch, and don't keep it to yourself.
Spread the word.
I mentioned earlier that we want to have a variety of friends, and as our status improves too, we don't want to leave the friend them behind. We want to bring everybody. The more of us that are moving forward is the better Jamaica is for the next generation. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your children. See you tomorrow and Sunday.
Because broke no good again. In fact, broke never good. Broke never good. Broke never good. We're talking about building generational wealth. To register at smallbusinessportal.com.
See you there.
Get those calendars ready, because today you need to save these dates. October 22nd and October 24th, 2021.
The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, presents a free 2-day virtual conference that will benefit your pockets.
This event cannot be missed. On Friday, October 22nd, we're going to be talking about growing and sustaining your business. Sometimes you say, in my little business, how can it grow further? You will hear from some titans in the business. They will tell you about growing their business from a seedling, germinating from an idea to now being listed on the stock exchange. It can be done. You too can do it.
And for our families, friends, children, building generational wealth on Sunday, October 24th.
You're saying to yourself, but that's on Sunday. It is. What better way to spend your Sunday? Gather the family together. Have a virtual watch party with your friends. Day 2 is all about your personal and family wealth. We're talking about building generational wealth. We are going to be asking ourselves, what are the things we wished we learned when we were children? What are those conversations about money that we need to have with our children? How do we secure our personal wealth? How do we grow and keep our personal wealth? Because broke no good again. In fact, broke never good. But we're talking about more than that. We're talking about building wealth, sustainable wealth, comfortable wealth, wealth that we can pass from generation to generation. You can't miss day 2. Go right now to register at smallbusinessportal.com. Did you get that? Smallbusinessportal.com. Register right now.
Don't forget to like, share, and click the event reminder so that you'll be notified of this life-changing conference. See you there.